Welcome, everybody. This is the day we, as a Peace 360 initiative, was planning to have a session about photography. We all have a competition like taking a natural photography within our community members. Uh, so we had a lot of questions how to take better pictures. So that's why we have an expert here today to learn about photography. Um, so this session was uh, arranged by Peace 360 Initiative. Let me go to next page. Um, Peace 360 Initiative is a nonprofit organization. It is incorporated in Wisconsin state, United States. It is completely led by working professionals who volunteers and serves to the community and contribute their spare time and energy towards the community uh, empowerment and improve the collaborative work between peoples to make the world better for all. So our vision is to see healthy individuals and peaceful communities in US and around the world. So you can go through our websites, Peace 360 Initiative, to know about us more. So this session is a knowledge share session, and as well as that makes us life better, I think. So Jordan Copley, he is a photographer. Professionally, he is an IT expert, but his passion is completely goes through photography. From his young age, from his young teenage, he started to learn photography, and he grown up in Kavali, Andhra Pradesh state from India. Um, he is a very calm, cool guy. I had a couple of chat and discussion with him, and he used to travel a lot in and around the world, and he loves to take wildlife photography and portraits, and also involved in commercial photography as well. He is the right man for us. Everybody has a digital camera. I think most of our household thing is our digital camera, but nobody's know how to work and get a better picture uh, when compared with professional photographer. Though the camera is a better camera, but whatever we take, however we take, we miss something that professional photographer takes. So that's why we approached to Jordan. He agreed to share some of his professional photography knowledge. Uh, so thank you so much for him to spend time with us. He moved to US 5 years back, and he is living with his family in Atlanta, Georgia, with his wife Rainey and his son John. So thank you so much, and we welcome Jordan to you to our Peace 360 initiative team, and thanks for your time. Please go ahead and we have before that um, something about our photography for a common man, what we know about it. So we want to take a picture like this, a clear family moment, and we want to take a picture with a good background and good visual. We don't want to have a professional photo, but still we want to have a better photo at least. So this photograph has a better moment and good light, nice background. And when we open the picture, immediately our attention goes towards the picture of the photograph. What we want to see, that's it's exactly meets. But most of the time, when we capture, the photo goes like this. Um, we don't know how it goes, and most of the peoples they don't know. We want to capture better, though the light is good, but picture is not better. Though the pose is okay, everybody's are posing good, but still the picture is not good. Is the camera is bad? Not at all. We still have a good camera, advanced ones as well, but the photographs are sometimes is going mess. We are missing the moments, lifetime moments sometimes. So we as a photographer don't know what went wrong and how do we take a better picture. So that's why we are here to learn and spend some time uh, and with an expert uh, how to take a better photography. So in the modern days, though we have mobile photos, we have a mobile, but still we could not meet the digital camera quality and good pictures. So that's why we want to learn about digital photography from you, Jordan. Please take us to and give some knowledge about it.
Sorry. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that introduction, and I'll try to see like how much I can help by sharing the knowledge that I have gained over the years of this. Okay. So I have a presentation which we will basically go through, and also in the chat I have posted a questionnaire link. Okay, where you can post any of your questions that you have. Okay, so that like even during the session we can skip there and we can actually uh, do that.
Viewers from Zoom and as well as YouTube live session, you can use this link.
Okay.
This link I have posted in YouTube comment, first comment and pinned it. So whoever has questions about during our session, we can always ask, and it's going to be an interactive session, so that we
Yeah, I mean, like, please feel free, like, to jump in or, like, ask anything that you may need. So
okay.
let me share, I think. Okay, cancel. I think I have some issue sharing the screen with this.
Yeah. Now I
Can,
think yes,
can,
yes.
okay, we can share the screen, right? Okay, that is fine. So, which is good. Let me get to the questionnaire. Okay. So, yeah, I know, like, see, I'm starting from the very basic because I want to, I'm not sure, like, what the quite the audience is. So, let's start from the beginning and we'll understand mostly what is the history of the entire photography and what exactly comprises of your camera and how do we capture images, what kind of exposure modes are there, and the general tips. Okay, this is the way that I think I want to take this. So one thing is like the images used in this presentation are not mine. I have a whole lot of them. I couldn't searching through them is a big deal. So I quickly to create this presentation, I have to pull up from the internet and then like show it up. So that's like, I mean, it's work of the other photographers and we need to acknowledge anybody's work. So the history of the photography, if you see, the first one was they tried to capture the image into a small hole and then like project it onto a wallpaper like we see here in the first image, right? So that is where the, oh, I'm sorry. So that is where the entire photography started. So they identified that okay, we can actually get the light through a hole and then make it project to see whatever is there inside. So that is what it is. And this was initially created by the artists who like try to do the landscapes kind of thing. So in the 16th century again, they actually created one more a smaller version of that using the box, and then they added a mirror because if you see the first thing, the light when it falls through it goes in the straight line, so you get an inverted image. So and then like we have the mirror which will correct it and you'll see as is kind of thing. So that is what was created, right? And then it slowly evolved, and in the 1826 the first photograph was created by Joseph. Okay, and the one which you see is the first photograph. You can see it like all blurry, but yeah, that's like the big thing in those days. And today we have like digital cameras with megapixels, and we don't even care. So, and from there, like evolving to the digital cameras, like it took quite time. And in 1989, Fuji is the first one to create digital cameras. So they created with 2 MB of your memory card, which can store up to 10 photos. Okay. So what happened, like, what are the advantages you got out of the digital camera? It's like no film processing. Like earlier days, you need to like do click and you don't even know if the photo came good or not. And again, they have to be undergo the process, which also is equally important. If the one who is processing the machine, okay, is the film, like they do a bad job, your photography is gone, right? So there are like multiple things involved, and it is more complex, and it took like quite a while for you to see the actual photograph of what you click. And today we have like after that we have our memory increase in the cameras, and you have SD cards. We have like, so the photo storage, which was film camera, like if anybody used films, it's like only 32 or 36 is the max you could do on a thing, right? So and storing them is again you need to put place all the developed films and then store it forever. So that is gone now. And the image capture speed, so now like the cameras are capable of clicking like 10 images, 10 shots per second. Yeah, I'm not talking about the video here, which is like we have a higher frame rate, but it's just the image capture at high quality. You still can do that, whereas that was not at all possible in your old manual film cameras. And we have like the software, which actually has helped us a lot in trying to identify the face detection, motion detection, and you have night modes, and you actually can see what you are going to click right on your LCD screens. So that actually makes a lot of difference, and in trying to use the digital cameras than comparatively to the older cameras. So this is how the digital camera evolved, and that is how what are the like kind of advantages that we have through now. And let's talk about what does the camera consist. This actually understanding is very important because this helps you to make better decisions on what needs to change when you are buying a camera or like when you are taking a shot, right? So what exactly is that you need more or less, or something that is something that we need to look at. So actually the camera contains sensor. I am not sure why can I not use the mouse here. Okay. Okay, so the camera has a sensor which actually captures your light, and then it writes, okay, in the digital technology, you write it to a memory card, right? So
Okay.
the sensors are of like multiple times, either they are like CCDs and CMOS. Okay, CCDs were like earlier, now most of them are CMOS. So that is the one like which is kind of photoreflective material it is made of, and that is the one that actually centers. So the how good your CMOS center defines how good your camera can capture the colors or the amount of light and data it can actually capture. Okay, so that may or may not directly transfer into your photo quality, because again it depends upon how well you can make use of it, right? So the sensor is very high end sensor, but how much amount of light you want it to get exposed to and capture the images solely on the person who is taking the camera, right? So, and that is the type of sensor. So the sensor size is what defines how much you can light you can capture and what is the frame size. So here, if you see, there are like two kinds of sizes mostly comes mostly in terms of digital cameras, but whereas your mobile cameras like contains very less 2.1 or something. So the 35 mm, 36 mm technically, but like it is like 35. So 35 mm is what is called as a full frame camera, because that is the maximum frame which you can actually capture the image through. So the 24 mm is the smaller version of that, where like it focuses only on a lesser area. If you see the image on the left hand side bottom right, so the black one if you consider as a full frame, so the blue one is what is your crop sensor, which is your 24 mm. So most of the professionals like use 35 mm. It's not that 24 mm is bad, it works, but depends upon like what you are shooting for, right? So the crop sensor is fine for your day-to-day photography also. So it's about the combination of these things that makes your photo quality better. It's not about how what is the megapixel of the image. It's not it's if the camera says 16 megapixel doesn't mean that it can take better pictures than a 12 megapixel camera. Yeah, your size is limited, but at the same time, how much of the light you are able to reproduce, okay, that is what matters. So if any one of you are like trying to buy the things or like trying to use, so you need to understand like how crop sensor or the full frame affects what additional lenses or like the way that you shoot changes.
One of a community member, he asked us how he has the same question. He wanted to buy a camera uh, before Christmas, and he asked how to buy a camera. I think this gives definitely a good idea for him.
Yeah. So so yeah, I mean, yeah, I may not directly answer that. Okay. But the thing is, like, by the end of this, like, you should be able to know it yourself, because based on the things, you should be able to make the decision. So, okay. So getting back, so this is what it is. Like, these are the things that are important. Okay. And also the next, if I go to the next slide, right? So where is this? Okay. This is, hmm. So now these are, so we have from the previous thing we have saw, I mean, we saw what is a sensor, right? So which is one of the major important component. And the next one is the lenses, right? So the lens is something which plays a very important role on how well it can converge the light. See, all lens does is it converges the light onto your sensor, right? And whatever is on the sensor comes into your memory card as a photograph. Okay. So this is like these things are mostly made of glass, and each lens contains like multiple glasses arranged in some format. Some of them convex, some of them concave. It's all physics, right? I need not explain that. So that's how it is like most of the times. So and each of them are have a definitive functionality. That is why we have like these many types of lenses. Yeah, it confuses you that which is a perfect lens for you. But the thing is, it's about what you are going to do with your lens. Okay, so what kind of images are you going to show, right? And what works better for that. Okay, so that is what is you need to like look in when you need to buy something. So if you are focusing, so this is all about focusing whatever the subject onto your sensor. That's what these lenses basically do, right? So they're not, most of them doesn't have any intelligence apart from. Some of them has the stability and the vibration resistance. So VR. So apart from that, most of them are kind of uh, just operated upon kind. So all of these individual lenses has different focal lengths. Okay, so the lenses are defined by their focal length. So these are how they are mostly classified into. So you have like ultra wide angle, which is 24 mm, and the lower than that is called as wide angle lens, and the wide angle is 24 to 35, standard is 35 to 85 mm, telephoto is 85 mm and above. So if you were taking like day-to-day pictures, which is like very close kind of thing, so you can go with, see, the lesser the number on the mm, the closer you will be able to focus. Suppose say 50 mm, you cannot focus it anything beyond a meter and a half.
Okay.
So if you want to focus anything below that, you need to go for a lower lens. Okay, and yeah, it's not that it's not totally impossible, but the lens is not made for that. Okay, it still captures, but think the lens is not made for that, and anything light that is not near to that, it cannot project properly. So that is one of the things that is why the lens is important. Like when you pick a lens, you pick like, okay, what works, how long, how far I'll be shooting. Okay, and also if you take the 85 mm and above and the long lenses in this picture, okay, they would be like 400 mm, 500 mm, which would require at least 3 meters or 4 meters of distance before it can focus. Okay, and usually they are used for like in sports, which is like long shots where you need to do from that, right? So that is where you use those things, right? So that is how it is. So now, so the lens and the focal length we have spoke. Okay. See this. So now, okay, what exactly is your focal length, right? So if you see the images, this is exactly what I was discussing the previous, right? So the distance between the camera sensor and where the light converges, that is what it is. So if you see the first one, like taking that person thing, okay, that works. And if you see the second one, right, where you have like more focal length, so now to get a picture you need your subject away. Okay, so from the point of convergence, which is like it might not give that kind of sharpness where the subject is close, right? So it's a trade-off. So what focal length you use and how far you need to shoot, right? So that is what that's how the focal length plays an important role. So even when you are shooting, right, so you need to like see what focal length works, how far is the person. And I mean, if you're looking at the, I'm talking about an object photography where like you have a person or something in front of you which you're trying to click. In terms of nature photography and all, like this goes into a different direction, right? When you're doing a landscape or a big family portrait kind of thing. So those things like change, right? So this is where like the lens plays a very important role. You need to know and understand that what you are shooting at, right? So and yeah, that's what we basically need to do.
A still
And
photographer, how the still photographer, which kind of lens is better for a still photographer. Here, most of us, our community members are, they mostly takes our family pictures and small events like birthday, Christmas, and small family events like
So
that.
see, for that, like I mean, if it is mostly indoors, you should go for a wide angle or an ultra wide angle. Okay, because it covers more distance. I mean, you'll be able to do inside the room. Okay, you'll be still be able to click the pictures. If you use anything about like 85 right, you have to go out of the room to click an object in the thing. I'm talking about the standard rooms. Okay, so you'll not be able to shoot it at such a short distance, right? So that is why if you are going for at least, I mean, the ultra wide angle will be very expensive. So the wide angles are generally like uh, is good for that kind of thing,
Okay.
right? So the next thing is we need the next thing focal length video because the aperture, right? So this is what is the aperture is nothing but it's when you click your camera, you hear a sound, right? Suppose the SLRs if you are using, I mean, you might not hear that in things, so you'll get a click mechanical noise. So what actually is happening inside is there is a closed shutter which is made of uh, metal leaves kind of thing, which opens up and closes. Okay, and it has like multiple leaves, maybe more also than what is represented here. So that actually defines how much of a light you are allowing into your camera, right? So the thing is, whatever you allow into your camera to fall on your sensor is what the image you get. That's what it is. So the focal length. So apart from this, there have like in every aperture, and it is also called as f-stops on a camera, and also the lens also. Okay, so which will allow you. Suppose if you see 2.8, right? It opens up wide. So the thing is here, it's a little confusing. The smaller the number, the wider it is. So it's actually reverse. So I mean, most of the people get confused. So just remember that one thing when you're doing. So the lower the number, which means like you are opening up the doors like so much that you will be able to get more lighting. So the advantage of that, so wherever your focal length is converges, you'll be able to get that part of it very clear because it has that convergence there and you're able to capture it, right? So that's the advantage of the thing. So based on the lighting conditions, if it is too bright and all, if you don't want to allow more of the light into in, so you need to like increase the f-stops, which will actually decrease the opening and will have and it will stop like overexposure kind of thing. Okay, so this this one we'll discuss a little more. But if you see the images, how it was showing like in the down, so from very blurry to like not blurry at all, right? So here, if you see the person who is still in the foreground is in focus, right? So this is called as most of bokeh effect, where you have the person highlighted and all your background is like blurred out, right? So those are the photos you see for the portraits, okay, which is uh, that for that kind of thing, the shorter the one, it is very good for that kind of photography. And all lenses cannot do all of them, so there will be a minimum and a maximum. I'll show you how to check those things. Okay, so and if you do it very small, so the less light comes, so the focal length is not converged at a single point, so you'll be able to get an entire picture of whatever the finder is. So if you see the why am I not able to? Okay, so if you see the image, right? So here, if you have any lenses, you can check. So here, 35 whatever is written here is your focal length of that. Okay, and 2 to 22 here is your f-stops. Use your aperture which the lens
Aperture.
supports. Okay. So this is what it is, right? So and if you see this lens on the right side, it starts from 18 to 200 mm. So these are kind of zoom lenses, right, where you can do the shorter and then the longer one. So by moving the lens, you get that range of focal length. Okay. And if you see here, the top one, which it is missing, it says like, 0.45 meters or 1.5 feet. Okay. So that's the shortest distance at 18 mm, which you'll be able to focus.
Okay.
Okay. So this is how you see the how what is that is supported on my lens, right? So you need to like make sure like if you actually the lenses with anything less than 2 aperture will be like little expensive, but I think like expensive than the detail. But if you want that quality, you'll have to like go there. So I hope like I mean, do you guys need time to go check what's your lenses are
Yeah.
and, and what
Definitely.
support, and also like there will be like the starting of f, right? So what is the f stop? See, the Nikon one, it supports from 0.7 to infinity. So what is the lowest that it can go to? You'll be able to like find it out there. Okay, so that's about the lenses. Okay, these are all, see, these are all very important to understand because it's all about capturing light, right? So how much you allow and what all the things that are the parts of the variation of this is something we really need to understand, right?
Okay.
Okay, let's get to composition. So how do we compose? So till now we have done with the what are the components of the camera and how they affect the light. Okay, so let's see some composition things and then we can go back the shooting. Okay, so there are like multiple ways you can compose the things based on your patterns, symmetry, texture, depth of field, lines. Okay, and these applies with the subject or without the subject, right? So it means you are taking a person in front of a pattern, okay, which is still works, okay. But you need, I mean, if your highlight is a pattern, you still need to make sure that the pattern also comes straight, right? So so these are some examples of pattern, right? This is like your everyday houses you look at, but they still form a pattern, right? So taking this photograph, okay, this is a pattern, and this is like one of the road curves, okay, that is a pattern. So these are all called as patterns. So if you see patterns, okay, you if you will be able to capture the pattern, yes, they become like beautiful photographs, okay. So that is something which you observe as objects in a day-to-day stuff, right? So, and the next one is symmetry, right? So how symmetrically you can do the photos. See, the thing is here, your photo can fall into any one of that, right? It need not be symmetric. I mean, symmetry is one style of it. Doesn't mean every photo has to be symmetrical, right? So if you see this, like the green and the orange, which divides it, like that's kind of symmetry they made. And here in this, the boat, they took it from the center shot, which is still symmetrical. And the same with the thing. So that is one way of shooting things, finding symmetry in the things, mostly like trying to be in the center and then doing it, right? Suppose you're trying to shoot in the middle of the road, yeah, that becomes a symmetry. And the texture, right? So what is the texture that you see around? So the stone is texture, wood has texture, rain has texture. So what is that you want to capture? The thing is like based on these, you still will need to change the settings of your camera. See, suppose if you are like trying to shoot that rain picture there, you may need to use a slower shutter speed, okay, which I'll come to later. Okay, so that is something that we might need to work with to make it look as good as this, right? So these are the textures. So, and this is depth of field. This is what like most of our people are favorite with, right? So the one is the background is blurred and whatever you see is in, sharp kind of thing. So this again is a type of photography. Okay, so you need not do all the same thing. And the lines. So the thing is, one of the things I want to tell even in later point is like, using the lines to your benefit. See, if the lines are not right, so if you don't align the lines right, the picture shows like distorted kind of thing. If you see each of these pictures shown here, apart from the bottom left, I'll come to that later, everything is aligned. See, the first thing, the couple is aligned in a horizontal back, the pillars or whatever. So here, like the next one, this girl is aligned onto the railway track, which is straight. So what that says is that becomes the perspective of where actually your subject is, right? So are they standing straight, leaning tall, sideways, or how is it? Even if you see the bottom right picture, right? So that one also, like they aligned it to where the center divided the straight line. So that gives a good resemblance of, okay, how the entire frame. So aligning, generally try to align all the lines if there are any in the, if you are taking pictures with the subject and with the thing, and even like suppose you are taking it in the front of your house, okay, right? So try to align it to your edges of your house, or like the bottom, like the road of your house or something, so that way you will get a picture which gives a good presence feel kind of thing. So that's why like lines are important. So next time, like when you always capture the picture, check how good the lines are. And coming to the exposure modes, okay, let me see what questions we have. Okay, I think the questions uh, will order, will
I
answer a little
I
late.
see one of our member, Saravanan V viewer, he asked a specific question about his camera. He has a Nikon 70 to 300 lens, uh,
Oh,
and he don't know what is the minimal distance he can take a
is the
better
question on
picture.
the Slido?
Uh,
Can you ask? I mean, can you post it in Slido because I'm monitoring Slido here. So
okay, okay, I
mm,
will do that. Sure, sure. All
okay,
right.
so that is fine. So I think people, Ravi, Vinod, and somebody posting on the pictures. Okay, so I will answer the questions. I'm monitoring the questions, but I'll answer this after. I mean, I can answer it now, but the thing is, I'll give you some more background before answering so that you'll be able to understand well. So that's why if there is any question that is like something that comes up which is not related, I can answer that
Sure.
straightly. So does, yeah, the one thing is, does mirrorless cameras produce better pictures than videos than the DSLR cameras? Okay, yeah, they do. Okay, it's because of the number of lenses become less, your refractions become less, and so the way the light travels is like direct onto the sensor. So they definitely have an edge, but not all mirrorless. Again, it depends upon what level. If you're talking about higher mirrorless versus a higher DSLR, yeah, they do. Okay, but it depends upon what camera you are referring to. It doesn't mean that mirrorless is always. See, even I mean, I do like SLRs. I have two SLRs. Okay, I use SLRs. I don't do, even the mirrorless is there. The edge is very less. Okay, so it depends upon like, okay, do you feel the difference is worth the price you are paying? Yes, go for it. Okay, so it's an individual opinion, but technically, yes, they do better pictures. I hope that answers your question, Vinod.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the exposure modes. So most of the people use auto, right? I hope they do. Okay. So most of the times you put auto and then like
I
click
am
it off.
on auto mode always.
And let me tell you the fact that most of the people doesn't even do auto well. Okay. So because when you even focus with auto, right? So you need to tell the camera where to focus. Okay, so okay, let's see the advantages of the auto mode, right? So the auto mode is nothing but whatever we spoke about the light before. Those settings were done by the camera, and it chooses like so. How does an auto pick like where to focus when you're looking at a frame? Does anybody know?
um, no idea.
Okay. So what they
Okay, do
actually
you have
do
any
is like
idea?
they check the
Contrast,
contrast in the
contrast,
frames.
contrast
Okay.
detection, and
Yeah,
how.
they check the contrast in the frame. So wherever the contrast is there, so they determine that okay, that is what you are trying to like capture, and that is where it focuses, and then like boom, it goes right. So that is why like you definitely need a contrast in a frame. Have you ever tried auto focusing in dark towards a black screen or a totally white screen or towards a totally blue sky? If you do that, it takes a lot of time to try to like focus. It doesn't, sometimes it doesn't because it gives up also. That is because there is no contrast in that frame. You can try it out like even if you go that would be a good fun thing to do. Okay.
Okay.
So that is why. So unless there is a contrast, you cannot get an auto to work. Okay. But yeah, I mean the thing is it actually technically improved a lot. uh, but I say like but I mean it depends upon what you want to do. I sometimes I used to do auto. When I used to do auto also, like I used to get good pictures, but sometimes when I used to do auto it used to give me good pictures, but then like it's all about you need to have patience even on auto to see where it is focusing. Okay. And based on the contrast it focuses, it automatically adjusts your light, right? So that is that correct or not? So sometimes you get beautiful pictures. Okay. I mean you cannot discount auto at all. Okay. But so there are like active focusing and passive focusing. So active focusing actually is not many SLRs have. Some of them have. So they send out a red beam onto the object, okay, and then see where the object is, and then try to focus at that line. Okay, so which helps it kind of thing. And the other thing with autofocus is you have so many focus points. So each camera has a fixed set of focus points. You can check if anybody of you has camera, you can check like, what is my camera, how many focus points I have. The more the number, it's like the more points you'll be able to focus. So it's not that like you can focus less points doesn't mean you cannot do good pictures. Yeah, you set that focus to that point and you still can move your frame and then do it. Okay. So, but yeah, more focus points gives you to focus at any corner of the frame, right? So if you see the left and the right, so which shows the focus point. So the other one has 6, 9, and 11. Yeah, 11 focus points, and this should have some 63 or something. Okay, so that's fine. That is still fine. So as long as you can manage your focus and then change the frame, you're good. Okay, so you don't need to do anything about that, right? So and you have like continuous versus single, so where it can when you shoot like it can continuously keeps focusing, or you can put a focus lock, like once you focus, okay, you lock out the focus and then keep clicking. So those things are also possible in the thing. So rest of the modes in auto, like you hear that you see all these modes, right? Besides the auto, which is a portrait, landscape, sports, and all those things, whatever you see in this, right? So those are all the artificial intelligence of the camera. So you set to that mode, which means you are telling, okay, these are the things to be considered. I'm taking only people. So what they do is they detect any of the noise that gets detected around. Okay, they'll like ignore it, right? So that's how the exposure modes is, and that's the auto. So for the manual stuff, right? Uh, there is a manual. Most of the cameras have manual TV, aperture, and P. Okay. So how each of these works, we'll see. Manual mode is like everything manual. You control each and everything of whatever you have. Okay, and the all the I mean it depends upon what your camera ability is. Also, some of them doesn't do manual or give all the manual, and some of them does. Even these days, your mobile cameras also give you your manual things, but mobiles like it's mostly software processed. Your sensor is like very less, 2.1 mm or something, and but you still have that software which enhances your pictures. So that's why it's not always the same. So there is something called a shutter speed, right? So remember, if I remember that there is a door that opens and allows the lights in and then closes it up. So how fast your that shutter has to open up and close. That you can define. If you see, like there will be a wheel kind of thing on the camera, which uh, usually will be there. Scroll wheel kind of thing where you'll be quickly able to do that. So that is something, right? So shutter speed. If you see this picture, that is 1/250th of a second and 1/125th of a second. If you see, like the more you expose, the more light comes in, and you are able to like see like much better light in your photographs. So that's how shutter speed is directly dependent. So where you want to use high shutter speed, where you want to use low shutter speed, like suppose you are clicking in the dark, right? You need more light to go at once. So that is when you use, uh, I mean, like very high, low shutter speed. So suppose you are doing any sports or things, right? So when the object moves, you don't want object movement to be captured in the picture, which will give you a blurry image. So when you see, like suppose you are doing a car, you're like trying to capture a car which is going, so you need to capture it at a speed where your camera will not be able to detect that the car is moving, which means you need to do it, put it to the least of the your shutter speed. So the minute you click it, so in like say like 100, 1/200, 2000th of a second, the car will not move much and the camera will not be able, I mean, so because of which you'll be able to get the good picture. Whereas if you take a second, in a second the car can move, and you can try this out. All these things, okay. The only way is like you have to try out. That's the thing. I think I am running short of time. I'll be like going a little fast, but we still can do the questions because I want to leave some time for the question and answers.
That's
So
fine.
the aperture is again I have like previously we have seen. So it focuses the f22 focuses only on whatever the hat that is there. Where if you see f22, you have the tree also in like in the focus. So that's how your aperture changes. Most of the lens aperture starts at 4, 3.5 to 4. If it is a normal lens, if it is a prime lens, it can start like much lesser. I mean, I'm talking about the average general cameras everybody will have, not the professional ones. Okay, so you should be able, and there will be a way to change it also. So you can change it and then try to take the same picture with different aperture. Okay, put the camera fixed there and then try to do that. So you'll be able to identify how these things is affecting. And and there is something called as ISO. Okay, this is something related to the sensor, right? So the sensor, how much of the light it has to capture, what is the sensitivity of your sensor, you can increase or decrease. So if you have increased, which means it tries to capture, suppose say if you are capturing some x amount of light, if you increase the ISO, it will increase to 2x amount of light. So which means when it is trying to capture more light, you will not have the clear picture because it is trying to capture more light than what its capacity is, right? So that is why. So shooting at lower ISOs always gives you the better picture, but that's the ideal. I mean, if you're outdoors and all, yes, you can do that, but indoors you may not be able to do that. So it's almost you can do. See, in the olden days when there are film cameras, this ISO is defined on the film. Okay, once you put a, you need to pick an ISO film and then with a specific number and then put it. You cannot change it, so you have to shoot the same ISO till like the film expires, kind of thing, right? So, but now with the digital technology, we can change it here, and that is one of the great benefits. So the so far whatever we have discussed is summarized in here. It's all about light. Okay, how much light you can pass through to your sensor, which is the, this is called as light triangle. You can Google it for it also. So this shows where and how you'll be able to do this, right? See, if you, the darker it is darker, this is, if you see this bar at the shutter speed what I was talking about right here. So 1/4 of a second, if a person running is taken, it takes more because the person moves. Suppose that is same at 180 8,000th of a second, there is less movement because of which you will capture the same picture. But if you are doing for only at that point, that slow thing, you might not have enough light. It could be dark at 1 2 seconds. So to compensate that, either you need to increase your aperture or ISO. Okay. So these three are dependent on all of them. So for a good photograph, it is about balancing how well you balance these things. See, this is always for every situation, this changes. Okay. Just because like you do it once doesn't mean like you can do it, you can use the same settings for the rest. Every photograph it changes if you ask me, because suppose you're outdoors, okay, you set up ISO and aperture and everything, and suddenly a cloud comes, or it, like the light goes down a bit, and the same settings won't work. You need to readjust that. So before taking a picture, like always do these things, right? So you will be able to understand, okay, what is going on and what is that you should be using, right? So that is something we can you can do. And okay, let me finish that. So okay, that is the technicalities of the photograph. Okay, let's see like how do we enhance the things, like see how do we capture. So now, like me answering the question, like, okay, why already inbuilt flash? Why we need external flash in still photography, right? So
Yeah.
as I have been talking about the entire session, it's all about light. If you don't have enough light in the things, in the surroundings, you need to use flash, right? So that is what it is. Ravi has asked this question. I hope it answers.
I think
Okay.
Ravi, you got an answer. I think we definitely need external light if we don't have a lights.
Yeah. So it's all about light. So photography is all about light. That is something you always have to understand. Okay, is the light coming right? And how to buy correct lens for a still photographer, as I mentioned again, depends upon what you are shooting. Whether you are shooting your kids or like you are going to shoot your like some professional photo, like headshots or what it is. So it's all on the choice. And Nikon 70 to 300 lens. What would be the minimal distance? I can. It would be. It should be somewhere around 70 is like 1 meter or so. but it would be mentioned on your lens if you read it. As I showed in the picture, like it definitely will have it there. What is the minimal distance? Or else, if you see your lens manual, you should be able to uh, do that. Okay.
I
So
got one
how?
interesting question.
Yes.
So, uh, in most of the cases, can you give us some tips how to ask people to give a good pose when we take a family picture or something?
See, most of the times, apart from the models, posing won't work well. Let me tell you.
Okay.
because because see, most of the people are camera shy. Okay, I think like I have running short of time. Let me finish these things. See, there are multiple types of photography where specialize in it's just not one that okay, just that now we have a camera and lens. Okay, let's go do something. Okay, you need to understand what you want to shoot, right? See, there are like portrait. I have listed a few here. There are like so many of them, and each of you see photographers specializing only in that. Okay, if you go ask that specialized photographer to go ask do something else, he'll not do a good job. Okay, because they are so into it, they do all this, right? See, suppose modeling, document, fine art, food photography. Okay, so holiday, suppose the holiday photos, what do you get? So wildlife, candid photography, and all this wedding photography, it's different. So indoor, outdoor. So there are so many kind of things. So there are like these are the general guidelines which I give. Whatever question, what I'm asking, and whatever you ask, they should answer some of them. See, there is a rule of third, something called as in photography. So if you see the picture, imagine there is a 3 by 3 box, right? If you place your subjects at the intersection of these lines, then the photo it gives a pleasant look. That is something that is proven theory, okay, in photography. So remember this rule of third,
Okay.
okay. And there is raw versus jpg, right? So there are formats. If you're shooting with your slrs, most of them can store it in raw. Okay, what's the difference between raw versus jpg will like 4 MB, and raw will be like 30 MB or so. Raw can store more colors. Most of the colors cannot be seen by the human naked eye. So all your processing softwares, what it does is they take out those colors and then they compress those colors and give you the picture. So the raw, if you save it in raw, you can process those colors in whichever way you want. Whereas JPG, it's already the camera processed and stored image. So there is nothing much that you can reprocess that again.
So the
And coming to the
picture
flat,
doesn't work for post processing work. You mean the Photoshop
yeah, you
and
can still do that, but the originality is already lost. See, you are working on an already compressed photo, right?
okay.
So whatever it has already, your 90%, your 100% has become like 20%, and you are working on the 20%, right? So if there is something that is you needed in that 80%, you still can't get it. So try to shoot it in raw, so which is better if you have it, and you can see how post processing you can do it. And flash, yes, use it only when needed, when it is in like extra light is needed. Try to adjust whatever the parameters I have mentioned earlier to get a decent photograph. In still you are unable to try to getting it, use flash and try to bounce it off so that it won't be harsh directly on the subject, right? And always use natural light because that's the biggest source and that's the beautiful source. And the daylight photos are always too good. And there is something called as golden hour, one in the morning, one in the evening, where you will have light, but you'll not have harsh shadows. Okay, so that is when most of, if you're shooting people outdoor in the nature and all, that's the best time to do it. Before the sun goes down and just when the sun comes up in the first 1 hour or so, you'll not have shadows because when you click a picture, right? So half of the time you see the shadow, sun is on one side and half side face is covered kind of thing. So that is something, if you can, if you are planning a shoot, yes, you can do that. And choosing a background. So choose a background that if you want to like keep your subject away and show there is an emphasis on the subject that you are doing. The other thing is keep the frame big. So if you are trying to shoot something, always shoot a bigger one, and I mean go beyond and shoot little extra frame, and then you can crop it. Because if you are so close trying to get the exact frame and you don't get it, you'll be like, later you'll be like regretting it. So keep the frame a bigger, little big, and then later you can cut and crop it. Is it right? So use support to avoid shake, right? Suppose if you are like doing somewhere. So see, most of the this is like on longer photo shoots, right? Suppose if you are outdoors and trying to shoot something, always use some support. So this will. So why the photos get blurred is because of most of the times you shook it. We don't. We will not understand that, but at the thing like it definitely shakes it up. So that's the thing. And the other thing is point of view. Not all photographs need to be the same. See, your point of view for the picture is very important, right? See, suppose if you see the parrots in this picture, right? So somebody took the first parrot on the row. So the other way is you can go to the side and say that and show that 10 parrots on the single frame, all of them in focus, right? So, but it's all about okay, what that particular person's point of view is, and it need not be the same with everybody. So if somebody shoots different or different point of view about your photograph, that is still fine. Okay, it's just that okay, you have decided to do it that way. So and okay, that is why the point of view is important. So that is why if you see the picture with the lines, when I said this picture is an exception, because it's just a point of view of the photographer. It's still a good picture with the lines, even though it is not like the thing. So he just did a candid of somebody enjoying. The lines are not straight in here, but still it's a good picture. So it's not that lines always has to be aligned, but yeah, if it is there, it is good. And to understand more without burning your fingers or like trying to waste time, you can go to this link, which is let me show you. Oh, come on. Just give me a minute. Where is my link? So this actually is something from the Canon side, which actually tells you this is rotating this one, right? So these are the parameters, your aperture, how you want to change it, okay? And then shutter speed, and then ISO you decrease, and then take a picture, it will show you how you took that, okay? So this gives you something to play around before you can actually try doing it, right? So that's something that we can. So if I can use this till 1 second, but if I do this, you'll see the fan spinning, right? You don't see that fan because I used extra.
Mm.
So so this is exactly the what happens is, right? So go explore your camera, and the thing is avoid the auto mode for some time. Okay, if you can successfully do that for a week, I am sure you will never go back to auto mode. So
Okay.
all it wants is like you have to uh, do it and go take photos. That's it.
Wow. Okay.
I think that concludes it. But like if there is anything, uh, yeah, there is one more question. Like let me answer these questions of this one. Yeah, there are most professional photographers which use clear eyeball. See, there is something called as red eye reduction, which you need to apply that. Okay, that something what it does is it sends out a little flash where the human eye turns red and then immediately turns back. That's when the actual photo gets clicked. So the flashes do have that, and if you see the most of the photos which are like adjusted, they change the eyes. So don't worry about that. Like you're not getting red eye is the only thing which is natural and which you can avoid. Okay, but rest of that, like you should be good with that. Okay. So, and the other thing is most of the times you should focus on the eyes of the person. That's also the another thing, that the focus is like, it has to be on the eyes of that person. So what is the optimal ISO for low light or indoor pictures? So the thing is like, it's all about, again, if you have enough light in your room, like it's well lit.
I think our video is called.
Looks like he got dropped.
Okay, let's see. Let me ping him. Yeah, I think we had a very good session about photography, and this session is completely basic introduction about photography, and definitely it's the most useful for us. And Jordan explained very well about all the things about though we take a picture something better, but his idea about find some pattern of images and symmetry objects, find a better texture objects that gives a good pictures, good photographs as output. And overall, everything is good. And we would like to thank you so much on behalf of Peace 360 to Jordan. Thanks for your time. And Peace 360 is continuously empowering community and peoples by doing community programs in terms of sports, life skills, and as well as women empowerment activities. So this is one of our mental health improvement session, and keep watching. We will do lot more community activities. Thank you so much for all joining this wonderful wonderful meeting, and I would like to thank you all from bottom of our heart. Have a good day to everyone. Bye.